lawyer who's bringing a case. Someone who's bringing a case before a court, taking action.
So I'm not
No,
prosecutor?
fiscally.
Okay.
But you could be a private attorney general. If you have citizen suit provisions, you step into the shoes of the prosecutor.
How much does a prosecutor make? I mean, I remember in Brazil, talking to Antonio Benjamin, he told us about 5 or 6 years ago that a prosecutor was making $10,000 a month. So there was no chance for corruption. But what about other companies?
Right.
So I think we need to work a lot in this respect. Also, I think that we need to take advantage of the media. The media normally sympathize with these cases. So it's not only legal, but also the social pressure, but the media. So if you have all the things together, I think it will be a good way to go. And if we really want to have the law and the media and organized society, I think that society also has to be well prepared to bring the cases. If you talk to public officials sometimes, or to prosecutors, they tell you they are not bringing the facts. They are not supporting the cases with the law. They are just saying they don't like it because they don't like it. But they don't say it because it's science, because it's a law, it's technical. So I think civil society has to do a better role, no? And I think that's it for me. Thank you.
I wanted to share the experience that we had in Cameroon, which is going on now for concerning the matter of training. Cameroon had a new environmental law in 1994, and 10 years after an evaluation, we realized that people were not aware of the new law, which contains most of these crimes. So with the support of the WWF, we organized workshops in 10 regions or provinces of Cameroon, where we happened to invite people from police, from custom and gendarmerie and all of them to come and explain to them the law. And what has been raising is what we have for judges in the meeting who were not even aware of the law 10 years after, and there are those who are supposed to condemn and read them, and they were either asking us, where were you hiding the law? That's what they are asking. So during this meeting, we try for next meeting to support the leader to multiply the law and to distribute the law to the copy of law of these persons. And we understand that the WW did not have enough money to organize this meeting, because just after you have finished a meeting in this region, that they will send they will have a nomination and will send in different provinces, and then you will have to continue and renew the things again. We also have a problem with customs. When they seize things, it seems as if they have incentives up to 5 or 10% of the amount of the cost of what they have seized. So these people seize ivory and they refuse to send it back to the Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife. That they said that we can send it to you only if you pay the 10%, because you have heard that ivory costs a lot of money. So we have a problem of communication between the administrations. So we have that. So after going around a meeting, we had the initiative to go into the schools of these institutions. So in gendarmerie, in police, and the school of magistracy, where the trained customs, civil administrators and things like that, for workshops. When they're there, we will come and then we will explain to them what is biodiversity, the need for us to protect it, and things. That one of the causes, and another cause is to explain to them the law and what we expect from them in order to apply the law. And that process, the process is still going on now in Cameroon, where with the support of the WWF, they are going into these schools to make these lessons, these classes, to train these people.
before going out, because what we started doing, because I was in charge of the program before I could left. So what we were doing was to just give, because we had WWL did not have enough money just to give the soft copy of the law during the meetings to those who were capable of having a USB key or something like that. That's what we were doing in order to allow them to have the copy of the law before going out of the school for judges and things to know that these really exist. In some schools even, people were so engaged that instead of coming as a workshop, they just incorporate it as a course now in the school that the students must listen to it, and then at the end of they be evaluated on the course. But what I would like to say is, when you go around, finally you see that there is environmental crimes in sectors where you see wildlife, where you may see plants, where you may have chemicals and things like that. But understand that finally, if we want it to be efficient at the level of the country, we need a body, a structure which can coordinate this and to allow people from these ministries to meet together to discuss about these things. Because if you have, let's say, a network which is only on wildlife, they discuss only with wildlife, and it will not be easy for them to call and to discuss with people in some government. Maybe we don't know whether INIS can try to do something in that sense, allow people to discuss, because it's a matter of sharing information for people to know the importance of what they are doing. We have had cases in Cameroon where you condemn somebody. The law is in Cameroon, when you kill an animal like a gorilla, you can go into prison, into jail up to 6 years, and you can pay money going right to 10 million CFA. That's a huge sum, but people just ask you, the judges, that how can you condemn somebody who was just hungry, who just wanted to eat, and then you'll be in trouble. Say that, and you can easily. What we have realized is that if you can seize a truck of wood worth 20 million. People going their way will not even pay attention on that. But if you catch somebody with a piece of meat, you'll be sick about people asking you whether you yourself you don't eat. Why are you seizing this just small piece of meat for somebody? So immediately on the field, it's not really easy for people to do that. Just this is my comments.
Thank you very much. We only have a few more minutes, so if you maybe some very brief would be wonderful.
It's okay.
Yeah, sure, please. And then I think a few more comments, very brief, and then I'd like to wrap up because there's been so many good points that have been raised here that maybe we can find a few steps towards progress. I want to address some of your points too, Gustavo, because give you a lot of thought to this problem of framing the issue. Maybe it's not the environment. Maybe we need to talk in terms of health and the economy and the value of the environment and take the word environment, but is it public health and protection, things that actually have real economic impact that get to raise the priority. I think we've reached a point in environmental protection where we need to reframe our arguments, and we got to constantly improve right now because what we're doing is not working in many parts of the world.
Yeah, I'll be very, very brief. I'm really happy listening to the sharings and hearing all these things about lack of capacity or awareness of judges and prosecutors. And I think this is really something that's happening all over the world. And I'd like to share a little bit of what we're doing in the Philippines. I belong to a group of, we call ourselves alternative lawyers. sometimes it's really not just going to court and filing cases and trying to get rulings that would be, that would favor, what you really want to get from out of the courts. But sometimes it's going to the court and using legal mechanisms can actually also stage or create venue for discussion, to start discussion of a lot of things. We're doing this not just for environmental cases, for example, in the Philippines, but also on human rights cases. When we bring matters to the court simply to use as test cases, to start a whole lot of discussions out of these things. So I think it's also one way for us to look into the possibility of using mechanisms, existing mechanisms, not necessarily to really elicit rulings, but just to start, be able to start creating venues for people to talk about an issue and eventually come up with something. In fact, in our case, we have a lot of, we've already established a lot of new mechanisms out of these test cases. For instance, even just the simple coming up with a rule that environmental law should be taught as a mandatory subject in law school. That's something that we were able to accomplish by just pushing test cases that would emphasize the need for environmental law, for example, to really offer in law school, so that our future judges, our future prosecutors would have a little bit of training on or something to start with on environmental law. So I just want to emphasize that other venue or avenue which we can probably develop future mechanisms.
That also goes to the point of picking the right cases, though, so that you're not just constantly crying wolf, that you find the right cases that you have a goal in mind, proper deterrence, figuring out what is going to create the largest impact, because it's hard to bring cases and choose. So,
very brief. It's just to round a little bit the idea, like it's more than a cultural aspect in countries like ours in Latin America. We were some months ago tracking all the international agreements about environmental health, and most of them they are stuck in our Senate. They get there and nobody gives any more tracking about enforcement or complying one or two, and many of them they bring money in the side, no? So the other part is also cultural, no? It's this situation, very sad situation of wildlife communities now living towards this pressure of the big cities and all these parts. We were filming some in the north of Mexico, some communities in this situation, and trying to work ideas for them to. And there is a great picture, that it's just in a sign that it's saying it's forbidden to trade or kill or capture a wild animal, and they use this sign to put all the collection that they have for sale. It's just in the high road, in a principal high road. Thank you.
I share one idea.
When we say that we need to introduce environmental law to judges and to prosecutors and things like that, I think we've got to go a little more basic. For instance, the reason why we understand all other laws is they are concerned with things that we've been taught by their children. We've got the 10 Commandments.
Yes.
There is no 11th commandment which says, "Thou shalt not destroy the environment." And if it did,
then people all the way along would understand that this was something that's wrong. I think that's where it start, not teaching environmental law at the law council.
I couldn't agree more. You need to start with the children. It's- Absolutely. We are honored to have the presence of the outgoing chair of the Commission on Environmental Law who initiated this prosecutors network with INES. And Shayla, I bet if you know, give us a few remarks on,
Yes,
on
well,
this.
I was hearing on the discussion. I really enjoy the work of this group. And I was going to ask my friend from Argentina, from Cameroon, and from Mexico, and you're from the Philippines? Well, if you report a theft of cattle in your country, is the judiciary going to prosecute? What is the case of Argentina? Cattle.
Cows.
If you report a theft of cattle, are they going to prosecute? In your case? In your case? It's as easy as that. In almost all cultures, that's why I like what he said, you said. Our social contract is around common principles and values. On our values, nature and wildlife is of free access, almost in all of our cultures. Maybe in one or two that went through a very sophisticated process during which they lost some of these principles, then you can think about that. And so they incorporate new principles because of many things, because they acknowledge that those resources are not eternal, so they have a limit and things like that, on that way of thinking. But we really have to explore our systems of thinking, because this free access is in the mindset of the people. And it goes beyond corruption, because believe me, in any of these countries, if you report the theft of a cow, you will receive the answer of the judiciary. And this is because, as I said, is the mindset of the free access to wildlife. We were born. I have a very nice. During this morning, we have our specialist group workshop on ethics, and we were born with this how do you say? Like living with nature and taking out of nature our resources to nourish, to live, but what happened is that we are so many, we didn't manage well, but this free access to wildlife is in our mindset, and it's in almost all cultures. So we have to realize this. We have to realize this, because before agriculture appeared, and before cattle breeding appeared, we already have in our, how do you say that, atavic, is it the same thing in English? Atavic, do you have that word in English? It's something that you bring from almost, not more than generations. It comes with the evolution of man. And the evolution of man was the free access to wildlife and the free access to nature. So we really have to think about that, because of course, we are working for years and years and improve the work of the judiciary, improve the work of the chain inspection, but the problem is in the roots, and we have to go back to the values and principles and try to see how we can work from there, because then again it's all around those things. We have to tell, we have to pass the message that this free access is not possible anymore because we have done something that cut this. And it's very difficult, because in my country, for example, you would say, no, the thing is that they are corrupt. Yes, they are corrupt, but that is not the principal problem, because if you go and you ask, you report the theft of a cow, you will receive attention. You will not receive attention if you report the theft of, or the death or whatever of a jaguarete. And that's all.
Right, just two very minor points. I think from the theft of a cow at national level, I'm very glad to say that among environmental experts, among lawyers now, there is a trend to propagate the idea of ecocide. If we have genocide, we are really destroying the
Yes.
environment, and that at the national level there should be ecocide. And this trend, this particular notion, is getting
Yes.
into vogue. Now, the second point I want to bring up to you is very early when I was asked to introduce myself, I mentioned about ASEAN Wildlife Enforcement Network. Just to let you know that my center, which is the Asia Pacific Center for Environmental Law, has just in fact very recently entered into a partnership with ASEAN One, and we are going to do a number of things. And as those who know about ASEAN One has got very wide networks with Interpol, with Customs, among the ASEAN countries, but also beyond that. And ASEAN One is now being technically supported by Freeland of USA. And what we are going to do, in fact, someone was saying even judges do not know whether there is CITES law. And we are going to bring out a book, a resource book of all the ASEAN laws relating to CITES, not just CITES alone, but criminal law, evidence law, procedural, and all that. And we are also going to thinking of bringing up a book. Stephen Gerber of Freeland said, let's have a book on CITES for idiots. So as